You know how it is in crypto. So much noise, so much hype. It's kind of hard to tell what's a real innovation and what's just talk, right? Well, today we're going to cut right through all of that. We're going to get to the truth behind the biggest claims surrounding a technology called Kaspa. Okay, let's get into it.
I love this quote, and it's so perfect for what we're talking about. Because, really, big breakthroughs only happen when people are willing to challenge the things we've all just accepted as true. And that's exactly the lens we're going to use today to understand what Kaspa is trying to do in a space that's full of established ideas.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to tackle 4 huge questions. First, is this thing a blockchain, or is it this new creature called a block DAG? Then, can the old-school secure proof-of-work model actually be fast? We'll also unpack what a fair launch really means. And finally, we'll see what it means to go beyond smart contracts. Let's get started.
First up, let's pop the hood and look at the engine. The biggest myth we have to tackle right away is the idea that Kaspa is just another blockchain. The truth is, its entire structure, its blueprint, is something else entirely.
This comparison really just lays it all out. A traditional blockchain, it's like a single-lane road. Only one block can get through at a time. If 2 try to go at once, one gets kicked to the curb, it's called an orphan block, and its work is wasted. But a block DAG? That's a multi-lane superhighway. Lots of blocks can be created in parallel, at the same time. And here's the magic trick. Instead of being discarded, these parallel blocks are all woven together, actually reinforcing each other and making the whole network stronger.
So you might be thinking, okay, a multi-lane highway sounds great, but doesn't that just create chaos? And that's where this protocol called GhostDAG comes in. Think of it like the ultimate air traffic controller. It's the set of rules that lets all those parallel blocks exist together and then intelligently organizes them into a single reliable history. It's the key innovation that makes both the speed and the security possible.
And look, this isn't just some idea somebody dreamed up overnight. Kaspa's foundation is built on years of serious, peer-reviewed academic research. Concepts like GhostDAG and the block DAG itself, they come straight out of published papers. This gives it a solid scientific backbone that just completely debunks the myth that this is all hype with no substance.
All right, let's move on to our second big question. For years, the crypto world has kind of just accepted this trade-off. You can have the security of proof of work, like Bitcoin, or you can have speed, but you can't have both. Well, Kaspa looks at that trade-off and says, hold on a minute.
So what's all this speed for anyway? Well, Kaspa isn't trying to be a platform for absolutely everything. Its primary goal is laser-focused, to be an insanely fast and secure layer for settling transactions. Think of it like the fundamental plumbing for finance, built from the ground up for pure speed and reliability.
I mean, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? We've all heard projects claim they have high speeds before, so what does the data actually show? What happens when you build a proof-of-work system on top of a block DAG?
5,584 transactions per second. Just let that sink in. For comparison, Bitcoin handles about 7. And what's absolutely wild is that this wasn't achieved with some giant supercomputer. This was done on a testnet using standard consumer-grade hardware. This is real, tangible evidence that this architecture might just shatter that old trade-off between security and speed.
Okay, so we've covered the tech and we've covered the speed. Now let's shift gears and talk about the philosophy, the ethos behind the project. The term fair launch gets thrown around constantly, but what does it actually mean in the real world?
This table really says it all, doesn't it? A typical crypto project, it's got a pre-mine for the founders, an ICO for early investors, and huge chunks carved out for venture capitalists. Kaspa? Zero. Zero pre-mined coins. Zero ICO. Zero VC funding. Every single coin came into circulation through public mining from day one. That's about as level as a playing field can get.
And this commitment to fairness is really all about promoting true decentralization. The launch started with algorithms that were friendly to regular CPUs, so more people could join in. And remember those parallel orphan blocks we talked about? Because Kaspa's block DAG incorporates them, it means smaller miners don't get punished. It encourages them to join and help secure the network without being afraid that their hard work will just get thrown away.
For a final section, let's look ahead a bit. In a world that's dominated by smart contract platforms, how does Kaspa plan on handling complex applications? And who can even participate in running this thing?
This brings us to another huge myth. How can a network be this fast if it's also running complex smart contracts? The answer is simple. It doesn't. Instead of bloating its main layer, which is what causes all the congestion and high fees we see everywhere else, Kaspa's planning a totally different approach. It's called vProgs.
So how does this work? It's a brilliant three-step process. First, all the heavy lifting, all the complex calculations happen off the main network. This keeps the highway clear. Then, a tiny cryptographic receipt, a ZK proof, is generated. Think of it like a mathematical guarantee that the calculation was done correctly without having to show all your work. And finally, only that tiny, efficient proof is sent to the main network for a quick verification. And that's how you get complex apps without killing the network speed.
And what about keeping the network decentralized? Well, that requires regular people to be able to run a full node. And when you look at the requirements here, an 8-core CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, a 256 gig SSD, it's pretty clear this is well within reach of a standard home computer. You don't need a massive server farm, and that is absolutely key to preventing centralization in the long run. So, after cutting through all the myths, what's the core identity here? It really just boils down to these three pillars: a deep commitment to a fair and open launch, a technical architecture that's built for massive scale, and a solid foundation built on peer-reviewed academic research.
And that leaves us with one final, big question to think about. When you combine the security of proof of work with a totally new, scalable structure, and you wrap it all in a philosophy of fairness right from the start, could this be the blueprint for a truly decentralized financial future? That's something to chew on.